Okay.
So cheers, man.
Cheers. Mm.
Oh man, I almost coughed on that one. That's
So
yeah.
I don't think this made it into the recording, but
Yeah.
you mentioned Boston accents.
Boston, Conestore.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about accents very quickly before we get into our main topic, because so my buddy, before I moved to Japan, he was from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And do you know Wisconsin accent? Wisconsin. And
get a bag of cheese.
Yeah. And so they have a really famous accent.
Yeah.
And they actually sound very similar to Canadians.
Yeah.
And it used to crack me up because if you're familiar with American accents, you'll hear somebody talk from Wisconsin. They'll be like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, you do this, don't you know? Yeah. So like he would, I swear to God, like every sentence would be, oh yeah, man. Like this is so great. Like we'll go out and have a beer and it'll say that, and it's just like, oh
dude,
I can't keep a straight face around you.
So a good movie to get that kind of an accent is Fargo, which I still haven't seen, but have you seen it?
No.
It's a really famous movie apparently, but I haven't seen it. But I got it. So just going on that, I got to tell you, this was like the weirdest experience I had in college. Well, not the weirdest, but like in a classroom setting, it was the weirdest.
Yeah.
So, I was in a social linguistics class.
Okay.
And we were talking about how when something called code switching, which is you switch between a standard dialect and your local dialect depending on who you're talking to.
Oh, definitely.
And so she asked, is anyone from the Northeast here? I said, Boston. And she's like, oh, okay, where are you from? Like, I'm from the Boston area. And I was speaking, I don't have a Boston accent when I speak. I never have.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's interesting, but you don't have a Boston accent. Where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from this small town called Marblehead. You'd never hear of it. She's like, oh yeah, that's a language isolate over there. Because it's the one town where people don't have a Boston accent in that region. And apparently like a lot of linguists know about it. You know?
You didn't miss anything, man. You don't want to sound like Peter Griffin every time you talk. Oh yeah, I'm going to go to my car.
No, but it's great. Like I remember, so my grandmother is from a place called Saugus, which is super thick accent. And like whenever I would go visit her, she'd be like, oh, Arthur, it's so good to see you. Come pull up a chair and I'll get some coffee and we'll talk about life. How are you?
Some coffee?
I know. And I was just like, I thought that's how people talked in America because I was living in Germany. And then I come here, I'm like, oh wait, people talk like me sometimes.
Oh, man, we're going to get on a tangent. I love talking about linguistics.
Okay.
So that dialect up until the 1950s was the popular and standard dialect of the United States. Most people in the U.S. sounded like that.
Yeah.
And a perfect example is my grandpa was born and raised in Washington.
Okay. Washington.
He always used to say Washington. It drove me nuts. I'm like, Grandpa, there's no R in Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, you'd be always, oh yeah, here in Washington State. It's like, oh, dude, there's no R.
Yeah,
Stop saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, but so originally we were going to talk about...
Let's commit to this.
Yeah, we're going to commit to this topic. This is like, we can't miss it this time because we only have half a bottle left. But so we're going to talk about places that we like to go for vacation, or we like to go to relax when we're not working on the weekends or something, and maybe talk about what our friends do as well. Because you said, so a lot of your friends actually leave Japan and go to other countries?
It depends on which group of friends we're referring to.
Okay.
So my Japanese friends, as soon as we get like an extended weekend, and I'm not even talking about a long weekend, just 3 days, they'll go to Korea or Taiwan or something.
But what about your foreign friends?
My foreign friends will often go to like Hokkaido or Kyushu or Okinawa.
Okay, yeah. So they stay in Japan.
Yeah. So I found that really kind of funny because like even many of my foreign friends have been here for a while. Like my really good friend's been here for 16 years.
Okay.
And I've got another buddy who's been here. God, the guy's like an ancient fossil at this point. He's been here for like 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so even those guys are still they're still staying in Japan.
Yeah.
And my coworker, the guy's like at retirement age pretty much. He's 60 years old. He goes, "Do you know Yonago?"
Yonago? What's that?
Yonago.
I know Yona.
I don't know exactly where Yonago is. It's somewhere.
Yonago?
Yonago.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's northern Japan and it's on the northern coast.
Okay. So, but it's not Hokkaido. It's
not
Tohoku?
Hokkaido. It's Honshu.
Okay.
It might be Tohoku. I don't know exactly where, but he always sends pictures and it's on the ocean.
Okay.
So it's somewhere around there.
Okay.
He always goes there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really interesting from what I've found, and maybe you could tell me if your experience is the same, but with my foreign friends and myself included, it feels like people pick a spot and then they just go to that spot a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's down in Shonan. And like Odawara.
Odawara, man.
Yeah. So I love going down there. Any chance I can get, I'll go to like Enoshima or Shonan or Hakone. I love that place so much. So any extended trip, it's like that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, like, I don't really have a place yet, I think.
Oh yeah.
So back before we had kids, Natsumi and I, we would go do like onsen ryoko for our anniversary.
I love doing those.
To be honest, like I maybe don't have a place, but I have an atmosphere that I like, which is like ryokan.
Yeah.
I love like the washitsu, and I like going to the not the sento, but like onsen and stuff. But since having a kid, we've been kind of busy. But for me, I think the place where I feel most comfortable is like Kamakura and Shonan, because I grew up near the ocean, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that Kamakura actually has a lot of similarities with my hometown.
Oh, does it?
And that they're very old-fashioned, known for their history. So like in where I live, you actually, for a lot of the houses in the historical district, you can't modify the outside because a lot of them are 400 years old, 300 years old.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that. And they're really narrow streets. It's very historical, right by the ocean. Lots of tourists.
Yeah.
And lots of locals who don't like the tourists. And so I go there. But to be honest, like, so in September, I went to Hokkaido for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because we took a bus tour kind of like north of Sapporo and stuff. And as I was going by looking at the fields, it kind of reminded me of Germany a little bit.
I could see that actually. Yeah. Hokkaido's got a very European feel to it.
And then after we went to Sapporo, we went to Otaru. And
I love Otaru.
Yeah, and we took the train, and like you take the train to Otaru and like you go by just the ocean, like the train looks like it's riding on the ocean. I'm like, holy crap, I love this. This is great. I want to go back again,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So I still haven't found it, but it's either like onsen ryoko or probably Hokkaido for me. Yeah, personally.
Honestly, I love the snow, but I hate being in the snow.
What?
Do you understand the difference?
No, I don't.
I like looking at the snow.
Okay.
And I like looking out my window and being like, oh, it's snow. Yes. But I hate being in the snow.
What's so bad about being in the snow?
I just don't like it. It's cold. It's like the definition of mendokusai. Like I just can't be bothered with snow.
It's funny because maybe I know I'm a weird guy, but I'm probably like especially weird because I love the snow. Like I actually love shoveling snow out of my driveway.
You are a psychopath.
Well, it's like it's good.
Oh, I love hard work.
Because it gets me outside. It gets me exercising, and also like I get to have some quiet time where I'm like focusing on the task. Like so in Boston, it's not uncommon for when it starts to snow for it to snow 1 meter in one night.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so then you wake up and you have all this snow. You have to get it out. Oh boy! And stuff. I don't know. For me, it's fun because it's like, especially when it's like fresh snow because it's not heavily packed.
Yeah.
Later on, a couple weeks later, when it gets packed down and gets mixed with the mud, then it's whatever. But like fresh snow, it's just kind of fun. It's like hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. It's off to work I go.
You could be a little dwarf going and collecting stuff in your
that's how I am. No, but it's just like I don't know. I love it. So probably part of it is also because there's no snow in Tokyo here ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very true. I in the 6 years that I've lived here, it has snowed one time.
Yeah.
And it was that one, you probably remember this, is about 5 years ago where it snowed and like the snow actually stuck around for like 3 days.
Yeah, right. I remember that. And then it was gone and it's never happened.
Yeah, it was horribly inconvenient because I was in Harajuku at the time.
You were living in Harajuku?
No. I was just hanging out in Harajuku. Okay. And it started snowing while I was there, and it actually snowed so fast they had to shut down the trains. Okay. So I was stuck in Harajuku for like 3 hours, and I didn't get home till like 10 p.m. that night. Man. I was so frustrated. I was like, it never snows here, but the one freaking time, like I'm not home and I get stuck.
There's a lot of good coffee in Harajuku. Just go get a coffee and wait.
Is there?
Yeah, there is. There's like lots of good places. Okay, so I know like 3 places off the top of my head.
That's fair.
But I'm a coffee guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so that's kind of like when you want to make a trip, but like when you have free time, like so when you're not working on Sunday like you did today, what do you do?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on what I'm doing, right? I have a lot of friends who live in Kawasaki, actually.
Me included.
You included. And so a lot of the time on weekends where I'm free, I'll actually head down and, either go to your place or go to one of my other friends' place and usually just have dinner and just get drunk all day.
Sounds really fun.
It's really great. I really enjoy it. I get to spend a lot of time with my friends and hang out. And so I end up spending a lot of my time in Kawasaki, and that's actually a huge reason why I'm moving out here. I just realized Kawasaki is like the greatest place in Kanto. It really is.
If you think so, that's great.
It really is. I'm
very happy to hear that.
It really is.
I'm moving out soon, but
you'll come back. It's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spend a lot of time in Kawasaki. So most of my time, like I would say on an average weekend, I'm spending my time in Musashi Kosugi and what is it called? Not Shin Maruko. Okay. It's on the Nambu line.
Oh,
not Shin Koyasu.
Shin Yurigaoka?
No. Not that one.
Okay. Shin something. We can look at it later.
Oh, no. Musashi Shinjo.
Musashi Shinjo. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I knew there was a Shin somewhere in there.
Okay.
Anyways, I'll spend a lot of time out there, and it's fun. I really love Kawasaki.
So I'm kind of curious to so maybe, I don't know like what your life was like after graduating and stuff before you got here, but what would you do on the weekends in the States versus like in Tokyo?
Never went out.
Really?
In the States. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I used to go out all the time drinking, but I never did daily activities.
Okay.
In America. Never.
Like, what do you mean by daily activities?
So, something that I actually regret because living in Seattle is a fantastic place to go hiking.
Yeah.
I have never once been hiking in Seattle.
Really?
Never once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's not uncommon among people from Seattle.
Yeah, it depends on the type of person who lives there, Like there are some people who just never do.
Yeah. So I used to go snowboarding when I was younger. But I never went hiking, and I actually think that's a big shame because I started hiking when I was here in Japan, and I actually really enjoy it. I took my wife hiking when we first met, and I think she really hated it. Yeah. Do you know Takao-san?
Takao-san, yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly calling it a mountain is kind of...
It's a big hill.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's a big
hill.
But I took her there and she just did not have a good time.
Dude, if you like hiking, have you ever been to Okutama?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was a really good time.
Yeah. I go there sometimes.
I'll tell you what specific hiking spots that I really like is we went to Odawara.
Okay.
And there's a lot of hills around that. I mean, that area is pretty much just hills and ocean, right? And something that I really like about Odawara is there's a lot of forest temples or like forest shrines, I mean.
Yeah.
and you'll go there, and it's like literally the shrine is like you have to do a hike up the hill just to visit it, and it's just it almost looks abandoned because it's kind of like overgrown with all these plants, and it kind of like reminds you of like a Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
Where it's just like it just feels like a magical place, and it's such a fun experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. So like one of our buddies, Andy, he actually lent me a book about how Tokyo developed its community and like road system and stuff. Like why is Tokyo the shape that it is now?
Yeah.
You know? And one of the things that they were talking about was how in like traditional agrarian, we still have a little bit left. Agrarian Japanese societies, you would have like the rice fields, and then you'd have the families on one side of the rice fields, and then on the edge, you would have the shrine of that area, and that shrine was actually just not the actual shrine, but it was the symbol of the shrine because the real shrine was up in the mountains, and so it was almost like the kami lived in the mountains in those mountain shrines, and he would come down to the shrine that was on the edge.
Yeah.
Because that was on the edge, and like that's how people would interact, so they didn't have to go up the mountain every time. Because like in Western architecture, you have the churches in the center. Yeah. But in Japan, the jinja is on the edge because it's closer to the mountain. And I was like, oh, so really the place where the kami lives is in the mountain. That's where you really should go if you want to get connected. And going to Okitama or hiking in other places, I really feel that because like even if it does seem a bit run down or beat down, but that's like, that feels more real to me.
It's part of the charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So if you go to Odawara, it's, and you go in the hills, they have, these thousands of year old, burial sites.
Okay.
That you'll go to, and it's these literal holes.
Okay.
That you'll see in the hillside. Mm-hmm. And it's such, do you know what a power spot is?
Yeah. Power spot.
Yeah. So it really is, because you just get this like really big sense of like this is an important area. Yeah. And it's such a fun experience.
Speaking of power spots, do you have any places that you would call like a power spot in the States that you can think of?
Ooh, I mean, there's absolutely power spots in the States. Mm-hmm. I never really experienced any. Like I never like really got in touch with nature in the U.S.
Yeah,
I was just never interested, and I regret it.
Yeah,
because America has some absolutely beautiful natural scenery.
Yeah.
I will say there is one time that I had a really deep like nature experience when I was in the US, and that's when I went to the redwood forest in California.
Oh, dude, I want to go there one day.
It's crazy, man. It feels like you're in like some like fantasy story. Like the trees there, like you'll see in pictures the trees are big, and you'll be like, oh wow, this tree trunk is like wider than a car. Like that's interesting. But then you like go there in person and you see how big the trees are, and you're just like, dude, this is wrong. Like trees are not supposed to be this big. Yeah. It's crazy. The forest is huge. And it's so easy to get lost in it because when you go in the forest, and actually the forest around Fujisan kind of has a similar effect.
Okay.
When you go deep in the forest, it's weird. It actually acts as like an insulator for sound. You can't like it's so quiet that it's like
it's eerie.
It makes you really uncomfortable. Actually, it's like what it should not be this quiet. We're in the middle of a forest, but it's a really interesting experience that you just can't get anywhere else.
So speaking of that, like, so I remember when so I went with my sister to Kyoto, and we took a Tokaido Shinkansen, right? Yeah. As we were going by and we were looking at the scenery, she made a comment saying, Arthur, the trees here are so weird. And I was like, yeah, I've noticed that the trees feel different. Do you know what I mean?
So I don't know if this is where you're going with this, but I've always said the trees look like broccoli here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
So, yeah, because for me, like, it's almost like when I see the landscape in Japan, it's almost like covered with really big moss. Yeah. Not necessarily trees.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because it's like so in Europe and in America you have these big trees and like you see tree, but in Japan it kind of all
it's
just
like this big puff like mushroom green and then building.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
It's really weird how that is, but like, man, I didn't do hiking so much in the States. Well, also in Boston, there's like no mountains. Like actually, when I went to Seattle was the first time that I saw mountains in the background.
Really?
In the distance, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like they're painted.
Dude, there's mountains everywhere in Seattle. It's like you're literally surrounded by them because you got the Cascade and the Olympics.
Yeah. But man, so we were going to talk about like what we like to do on the weekend. This turned like a hiking episode here. But
it's fun to talk about. So
for you, like, where is some place that you haven't explored yet that you would really like to go check out?
Eastern Tokyo.
Eastern Tokyo. I never go out there. In fact, I couldn't even name one area in Eastern Tokyo. There are a lot of good places. I'll show you around some.
I literally like, if like the furthest east that I've gone is the center of Tokyo.
Well, so Monzen Nakacho is kind of on the eastern side a little bit.
Kinda. I guess like Asakusa.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of on the east.
That's kind of on the east. I shouldn't say I don't know. I know Asakusa pretty well. Just because I live on Asakusa-sen. So we're gonna go to Asakusa again for Oshogatsu.
Okay.
But I don't know Eastern Tokyo at all.
Okay.
Like what's that place? Not Kichijoji.
Kiyosumi Shirakawa?
No. Kabukicho.
Kabukicho is in Shinjuku.
Is it?
Yeah, like there's an area called Kabukicho in Shinjuku.
Oh, I always thought Kabukicho was. I never go there. Okay. So I thought that was in Eastern Tokyo.
Well, it's clear that
I don't know Eastern Tokyo at all, man.
There's some cool places.
I've lived here 6 years, and honestly,
Kinshicho? Was that Kinshicho?
You know what? That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've heard.
I know the name.
It. Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, Tokyo is such a big place that, like, I'm still just exploring otaku.
Yeah.
There's so many places in otaku that honestly, like, I could go to a new place almost every day and still probably not run into the same place.
Yeah, right.
And so most of my experience, like, I know Western Tokyo pretty well at this point. But I don't know Eastern Tokyo at all.
There's some good places that I can show you. Like, also places that are great for like date spots with your wife too. Like, I for a little while I was kind of always exploring like Shitamachi. Yeah. You know, but I wouldn't want to live there, but it's nice to visit. Yeah. You know. Yeah. But anyways, I think we're done with this now.
Okay.
So let's finish this.
Fair enough.
Great, man.